Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lifetalks today. Is anybody excited to be in the house of the Lord this morning? We're looking forward to great things today. What an incredible July 4th weekend we've had so far. I want to acknowledge that. We're so thankful to serve the Lord in a free country. Amen. And we are going to celebrate that and may speak to that a little bit more today. But this morning, you see, we have a little bit of a different setup for our panel today. We've got some Lifeway youth up here. All right. Pastor Dillingham asked me last week to do a special session today with some of our senior high campers. For those of you that maybe are not familiar with how our camps work, this past week we had senior high camp, and it was absolutely just incredible. What a move of God that was had that week. And I want to just have our campers share with us some of the things that God spoke to them. What is God up to in our student ministry, and give them an opportunity to just explain what camp was about and why we do it. But I also want to mention that we have the Camper of the Year, Mr. Gavin Dates. We've got Avery Dillingham on the panel, and then we've got Mr. Bryce Thornton, who is also runner-up Camper of the Year. Lifeway was representing big time this past week, so I'm happy to introduce them, and let's get started. So first of all, I want to just ask you all a question. We don't have to go in order, any particular order, but I just want to open it up to ask you guys, why did you choose to go to camp this year? What were some things that you were hoping to receive from the Lord? Maybe what was some of the motivation? Were you trying to find a date? I don't know. We're not going to talk about that today. But let's talk about why you really went. Go for it, Bryce. We'll start with
you. This year was an interesting year because I was a volunteer working both of the camps before that, so the kids camp and the junior high youth camp. And so the Sunday before senior camp, I was exhausted. And I was like, I don't really want to go to camp this week because I'm just dead inside a little bit. I've been breathing in the camp good stuff. It was rough. I was a little sick. It was just terrible.
Minimal sleep. Haven't been in your own bed for a while. We got you.
Just every factor possible. And so Sunday before senior camp, I was like, I don't really want to go tomorrow. And I was packing, and I got kind of like caught up. And I remembered from last year's camp, I was at a service, and the presence of the Lord was just so heavy. And I couldn't like figure out what it was, but I just knew that it was so heavy. And so Sunday evening, as I'm packing, I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to go tomorrow. But I remembered that you can feel so heavy at the campgrounds during youth camp. Just the presence of the Lord all over the tabernacle. And I wanted a refreshing of that feeling. So that's why I wanted to go.
Amazing. We go to experience the presence of the Lord, right? We had, how many campers did we have at senior high? Over 300? 350 at senior high camp, gathered together for 5 days to worship, to hear the word of the Lord, to connect with each other, and to go to the next level. So it sounds like the Spirit of the Lord responded to the desire, and he was there. Avery, how about you? Why did you go to camp this year?
Okay, y'all are going to have to bear with me. I don't know if you've heard of the camp crud, but it's the sickness that comes the week after camp, and I'm dealing with that at the moment. I feel really unspiritual after that answer. I also didn't really want to go to camp. I've never been like a, oh my gosh, I love camp person. I don't hate camp, but but it was my last year. And it's true, like the presence of God is always so strong on the campgrounds. It's always so good. And, I was thinking, I was like, maybe the reason that I don't want to go is because like God wants to do something through me. And so the enemy's like trying to get me not to go. And so I was like, yeah, I need to go. And I always know I need to. It was great. But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, it can be hard being away from home for several days. Sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, but you push through that. The Lord moved in a mighty way. I'm sure part of the camp crud is because you were praying so much and singing and worshiping. That's for sure what happened to me every year that I went. Gavin, bro, camper of the year. You must have had an amazingly spiritual reason for wanting to go to camp, right? Come on, man.
Basketball. No,
Basketball. Okay.
no, I've always loved camp. I've been going to camp since beginner camp since I was like 8. I've always loved camp. And since I've been going to beginner camp, I've never gone to a camp where somebody hasn't been healed. And I just think it's always a great time to go because you make friends, you see people healed, you see the Lord work. Just this year, from what I know, there were six people healed on Friday night. And I think it's just always a great time to go. Meet new people. You have lifelong friends that you'll see, like you can join Bible quizzing and see them afterwards. So I think it's just a great time to connect with other people in the Lord.
So powerful. So powerful. Now I want to ask you an even more spiritual question. What was the funniest thing? We're going to get to the spiritual stuff in a second, but what was the funniest thing that happened at camp this week? Do not indict any camp workers. Brother Updegrave was here a few weeks ago. We don't want him to get any ugly emails, okay? But let's be honest. What was the funniest thing that happened at camp this week?
So I'm only saying that I'm not indicting anybody. This was said at camp. Brother Updegrave got up and was introducing DJ Hill and announced their child that nobody else knew about. And so they were keeping it hidden, and Brother Updegrave goes up there and he's like, yeah, DJ Hill, his wife has 3 kids and 1 on the way, and DJ Hill gets up and he's like, thank you for that. Nobody else knew. It was hilarious.
It's posted now. That's public information, so he's not going to get in trouble for that.
Wow. Don't trust Brother Updegrave with your personal information, I guess. That's good. That's good. Bryce, what about you, man?
My interesting highlight of this year actually happened at the junior high youth camp, and I was walking to go trim bushes with a group of guys, and they were like, hey, we need you in the dorm real quick. And I was like, okay. And I walk in there, and there's drywall and fiberglass all over the floor. And I looked straight up, and there was about a 10-foot by 5-foot hole in the ceiling. And I was like, oh, you're kidding. And so I spent the next 4 hours of my day just patching drywall in the guy's dorm because somebody was trying to catch squirrels in an attic, and they were walking on the wrong pieces of wood, and they fell straight through. And I don't even know how. This is a skinny kid that falls through. It was not me. This is a little tiny kid, and he makes this like 10-foot by 5-foot hole. I have no clue how, but it was impressive and hilarious.
So you were patching drywall?
Well, we used plywood because,
Okay.
What's the campgrounds if you do it right?
That's a good commercial for camp. Like, send your kids to camp and they will learn how to do drywall. They'll learn how to, like, trim bushes and do landscaping. Okay. We weren't, catching squirrels. We kind of weren't going for that angle today, but we'll take it. Avery, can you top that?
I don't know if I can top it. This is actually really funny. So, I think it was probably the second or third day of camp. Maybe not even that. It was probably the first or second day. Bella, she's not here today, so sorry, Bella, if you're watching.
You can fully pick on her today because she's not here. She's out of town.
Right. I'd pick on her if she was here. But she lost her hairbrush. And I don't know if you guys know, but is it Wednesday night? Is the talent show? Wednesday night, there's a talent show. And we were in a small group. It was like a couple girls, and Mackenzie Gibbs was the leader. And she was like, what if for the talent show you guys sang Where's My Hairbrush? Because she lost her hairbrush. And we did. And the day speaker doesn't have hair. And so on the part that says, I have no hair for my hairbrush, she pointed at the day speaker and said, he has no hair for my hairbrush. And he spoke about it the next day in the day service. That was actually really funny.
Lifeway had such an impact on the culture of the camp this past week. It's incredible. I love it. Well, I gotta ask you the next question then. So speaking of messages, I want you all to share with me, what was your favorite sermon message? What were some things that you took away from it? Maybe just share some experience of a particular service that maybe God spoke to you in a special way. We'd love to hear about that. And by the way, at camp, man, there is some of the best preaching and ministry that you can imagine. And this past week was no exception to that. We always have a powerful move of God through the spoken word. So I want you all to share with us, what was one example that really stuck out to you?
Probably, probably my favorite, and Gavin, I'm probably about to take yours, but it's okay. Just got to make you think about another one. It was so this year. Our senior high night speaker was Brother DJ Hill, our general youth president, and he gets up there, and it's the first night, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to shout, like, ah, and he gets up there, and his first message of the entire week was called "Don't Build a Delayed Altar." And I thought that was an interesting topic. And he started talking about Saul and David, and how David has been disciplined in making altars and sacrificing to the Lord throughout his entire life. But Saul, on the other hand, was looking for the approval of men and everything like that. And so all these bad things happen to Saul, and he's going down a really bad path, and he decides to get down and build an altar. And the problem with Saul building one so late is what he didn't do in private came to light in public. And so it was a powerful message about how you need to start today. Your discipline, your desire for the things of God needs to start today, or else it's going to be too late and your altar is going to be delayed. So that one really stuck out to me.
Wow, that's amazing. Go for it.
So you did take mine. But there was another one. It was called Don't Wear Their Words. I think that was Tuesday night. And
Bro, that was so powerful, dude.
it was really good. He was talking about, like, don't listen to what people say about you. Don't, like, people going to call you fat. People are going to call you ugly. People are going to call you lazy. But what you need to do is you need to listen to what the Lord is saying about you and not what the world is saying about you. Because when you wear those labels and you wear their words, it affects you in such a negative way. You won't listen to anything else. You'll just listen to only them. And I think that was, like, really powerful for especially a lot of people. And I think that especially for me, like, when I was younger, I always struggled with, like, being called names. And I think just hearing that, and, like, when other people hear it, that they know that the words that they say can affect other people, but when they get said to them, it also affects them in a negative way too.
Wow. Man, that is so good. I was there for that message, and I'm telling you what, the power of God moved into that place. And I think that's so true. Sometimes we carry labels through life that don't match the labels that Jesus gives us. Am I right? I love it. Avery, what about you?
So my favorite sermon came from Brother Worthington. He was our day speaker. I did love the danger of a delayed altar. That one was really great too. But it was called They Didn't Even Know It. And he was talking about Nabal and David, and how Nabal was talking down on David and saying that he's a nobody basically. And David got so angry and said, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill all the men. And, like, it's going to be bad. And he was talking about how Abigail went to David as he was on his way to her husband's house. And she was like, take me instead. And she wasn't even in danger, because he said, I'm going to kill all the men. He said nothing about the woman. But she was the intercessor in that moment. She was standing in the gap between David and Nabal. And he was talking about how sometimes we'll have to stand in the gap in situations that don't even involve us, that we're not even in danger of. And how there are going to be times that we'll have to intercess for people we don't even know. And it was just really powerful. and he was talking about how the difference between David and Bathsheba and David with Nabal is that there was an intercessor, and how Abigail was intercessor. And so he was just calling us to be intercessors and telling us that now of all times is the time to be an intercessor. It was just really awesome.
Well, I love what I'm hearing. I'm hearing several themes that are kind of standing out to me about what God was doing. We have to believe Jesus defines us. We have to have a personal walk with God that is not based on our parents' commitment, but is based on our own determination. As for me, I am going to serve the Lord. And also a missional component, a relational component. We've got to stand in the gap for one another. We've got to commit to being part of God's kingdom. And I want to talk about the kingdom component with that in mind. What were some things this week that maybe just you've never considered before about the kingdom? Maybe some things that blew your mind about God's kingdom. By the way, one of the reasons that we participate in events like Ohio youth camps, North American Youth Congress, youth rallies, it's because we also want to see that the kingdom is bigger than what happens within these four walls. This is a global thing that God is doing. This is something that God is doing worldwide, and the kingdom is so much bigger. The things that God is doing, it's so far beyond what we really stop and think about sometimes. So, but that being said, what were some things that maybe just really challenged you, maybe you've never thought about when it comes to God's kingdom and how big it really is?
I think something is really, like, I've always known, just growing up in church, knowing that God can and will use you.
Yeah.
But I think something that, like, I really learned is how much God can use you.
Yeah.
And I saw that at a lot at camp. And, like, the people who got healed, I had friends were praying with, like, I had friends that were praying with people, and I was just seeing people get healed. And I realized, like, oh man, I've heard of healings, but, like, these are young people who aren't elders in the church, who are just becoming young adults, who can actually pray for people, and it's not out of their own power. Mm-hmm. It's out of God's. And I really think that the more we realize how much we can do with God, the stronger our walk with God will be.
Wow. I love that so much, man. You are not too young to get involved in the kingdom. You're not too old either, by the way. I think a few weeks ago, maybe in a Lifetalks session, we shared how the average age of an individual on an aircraft carrier carrying out operations, running the ship, is 19 and a half years old. Listen, God can and wants to do something with this generation. Teenagers, you are not too young to get involved with what God is doing. And I'm so happy to hear that God was moving in that kind of a way, because it's going to take all of us to see what God wants to do with the revival that is coming to this generation. It's going to take every age working together, partnering together. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, in Jeremiah 1, the Lord said, don't say, I cannot speak for I am a youth, because before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. And so that's always been my thing when something comes up about, like, oh, you're too young to start a ministry. I'm like, go read Jeremiah 1 and then come back and tell me that.
I love it. I love it. So with that, to you, bro, what were some things that blew your mind about Jesus and his kingdom this week?
So I've always, I don't want to say struggled, but I've always wrestled with the concepts of mercy and grace.
Okay.
And now you have a great story about grace, and I'll let you share that later. But I had it written down in the notebook that I took to camp, and it was actually something that you said. You said, mercy is not getting the punishment that you deserve, and grace is receiving the unearned blessings and favor you could never achieve on your own. So mercy is God not giving you what you deserve, And grace is God giving you what you don't deserve. And so that's what I had written down. And one of the nights, I think it was when he did the Don't Wear Their Words, I was in the altar, and he did a great job of showing us how to pray past what the flesh wants to pray. So every night for service, he would say, go find a personal place in the tabernacle, and we're going to pray for 20 minutes. And man, for me, we would get to like 7 minutes in, and I would be like, all right, I'm done. I prayed my prayer. Can I go get my chicken, please? But it really taught you how to pray past the flesh desires and how to really seek the presence of God. But I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I said, Lord, I thank you for your grace. I thank you for your mercy. And then I just kind of stopped. And I thought about what I was saying. I thank you for the grace that you've shown me and the mercy you've given to me. I willingly and knowingly committed sin to God, against God. I looked at Jesus in the face, knew what I was doing, and spat. I sinned against him. And he was still willing to give forgiveness, and not just that, but also call you into a better way. Repentance is turning around and going the other direction. He gives me not just the opportunity to turn around and say, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But he gives you the opportunity to walk forward in his kingdom. And that, it was so heavy. And I just sat there and I just began to weep, because the grace and mercy of God is something I can't even process. I can't even fathom that. He took a broken sinner and gave you hope to be something in his kingdom.
Praise God. Come on, isn't Jesus good? Hello. I should just give you the microphone, I guess, here. I love that. So powerful. Don't we need to hear that? Avery, over to you. What were some things that God just blew your mind with? Maybe some things you've never considered about his kingdom. What did he do?
Okay, so there was this girl in our room. We have 4 bunk beds in our dorm, and we only had 3 or 4 girls from our church that went this year. So they put 4 random girls in our room. And I had seen a couple of them around, and a couple of them I didn't know. And there was a young girl in our room. I think it was maybe her first year of senior camp. And she was very jolly, very happy. She was a very sweet girl. And towards the end of camp, she started opening up to me. And she told me that her mom and her stepdad were getting a divorce, and that her mom was telling her that it was all her fault, and that it was all happening because of her. And again, she's 14, 15. She's young. And that her mom was forcing her to move to Pennsylvania with her father that she'd never met and move in with him. And she was so broken. And just from the beginning of camp, you would have never known, because she was just so happy and such a sweet girl. And so she had to leave Friday afternoon before service. Her mom came and picked her up to take her to Pennsylvania. And she just gave me a hug and cried and was like, thank you so much for just being you. Like, the impact that you've had on me just in these couple of days is unlike anything I've ever had. And it kind of made me realize that as Christ followers, sometimes we don't even really realize the impact that we have on people simply by being like Christ. Because, I mean, our goal every day should strive to be a little bit more like Jesus. And, you know, if we are like Jesus, then the broken people will see his wholeness. And so I guess I was kind of opened my eyes about how there are so many people who act fine but are truly broken inside and have situations that we don't even realize. But simply being like Jesus can show them something that they may never see again.
So powerful. I love that example, because it just shows how sometimes when we think about what God is doing in his kingdom, we think really big. But oftentimes Jesus started really small. One person at a time, one life at a time, one relationship, one encouragement at a time. it can really cause people to choose, I'm going to take a step in Jesus's direction. I love that so much. So my next question is about next steps. I love that Move the Mission. By the way, I have my Move the Mission socks on today. Do you all see that? I've got my Move the Mission socks. This was a gift from Pastor through Brother DJ Hill. So I've got my Move the Mission socks. I love how the United Pentecostal Church is focused on really mission in every way. It is a missional organization, and really Jesus' church is a missional movement. So I want to ask you guys about what you're going to do next. What do you feel Jesus challenging you to do next? I think sometimes we go to camp and God pours into us. Maybe we receive some new information, some new perspectives, some revelation. But Jesus doesn't just give us revelation so that we can sit on it, put it on a shelf, and look back to say, man, wasn't that a great camp year? What Jesus is doing is he's trying to get us to move on mission, right? So I just want to ask you all, what are some things that are practical that maybe you feel God nudging you to do next as a result of what you heard at camp?
Amazing socks, by the way. So last year at NYC, I felt God really call me. Like I've always, when I was younger, I always wanted to be like, yeah, I'm going to preach. I'm going to start my own church and blah, blah, and this and that. And then at NYC, God was like, hold on, take a step back. And he was like, how about you work with the youth first? And I was like, I've been praying about that more and more. And then this year, they had a panel Wednesday morning, and they said that, like, they mentioned going back and working camp if it was your last year. And DJ Hill signed my Bible, and something he wrote was, he said, you're a great man of God. You're going to do great things. Just keep pressing forward. I think something that you can always, something that I can do in my next steps is press forward and go work camp. Just start with working camps and connecting with the youth and doing things to keep moving forward in God.
Yeah, your neighbor, right? Loving your neighbor, the people that are next to you. You come to youth events every single week faithfully, and God's like, bro, let's start by loving our neighbor. Let's start by having an impact with those that are maybe just a little bit younger, that are maybe just one step behind. Let's grab them by the hand and let's walk forward together. I love that so much. Avery, what about you?
So one thing I really loved about DJ Hill's messages were they were messages for the now, but they were how to make your future better. How to form the foundation now so that in 10, 15, 20 years, you don't have a delayed altar. And, you're not struggling with those things that you could have killed at senior camp 2026. So I think, like, kind of what I took away from the camp was that if any time, now is the time to lay the foundation and to build the altar so that in those 10, 15, 20 years when I'm married and I have kids and I'm in the ministry or whatever God has called me to do, that I can say, thank God for senior camp 2026 when I made up my mind to build the altar, to lay the foundation, and to follow after what God has called us to do.
Yeah, during his delayed altar sermon, he would every couple lines he would say, "I'm not preaching to you, I'm preaching to 45-year-old you," and I was like, "Wow, that's a whole different perspective on this message." Like, I'm setting up my future now.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing he actually said in the message was you can't expect public attention without a private prayer time. And he was talking about how it's so important that you don't expect position without a personal prayer life. He was talking about David and Saul and the difference between, there. It's a great thing to go study out. But Yeah, it was just really awesome.
So good. I love that so much. Bryce, over to you.
Man, you flowed right into my answer at the end there. But I think one of the main things I'm going to take away from this camp is putting my desires on the right things. So I've probably said it in like youth classes at some point or another, but I spend a lot of time in music. I do a lot of stuff there. Whenever I'm just like not doing anything at the house, I'll just run downstairs and play the keyboard for a little bit. So that's something that I took a lot of pride in, and so I've really struggled in the last couple months, just being transparent a little bit, be like going to an event like Midwinter or NAYC and being like, man, that should be me up there. Like I should be playing the organ. There's nobody up there. And I did that in the last couple weeks. I'd look up there and be like, man, I there's nobody on there. I should be up there. And it's really kind of pricked my heart a little bit to put my desire on the right thing, to not desire position, to not desire a pulpit, to not desire a ministry, but to seek relationship with God. And every single message, morning and night, there would be like 5 to 10 minutes, no matter what the topic was, and all of a sudden he would just start speaking like directly into my life. And it was so awesome, because that's something so easy that something so easy for me to struggle with, because in music you're going to go to an event where the best of the best are there. You're going to go to NAYC, and these are the top guys in the UPCI, and you're like, man, I want to be up there, but I'm not desiring that. That might come along the way, but I want to fix my relationship with God. I want to build an altar. I want to have a private prayer life before any of that happens, because what is that without devotion to God?
David sang to the Lord in the field when nobody else was watching, when there was never a promise of future promotion.
There was a lion and a bear before there was Goliath.
Can I just ask you all a question? Parents, do you need a commercial for why to get your kids involved in youth ministry? Or did we just have it today? Come on now. Can we give these students a round of applause one more time? Didn't they do great today? Come on, are you excited about what Jesus is doing in our students? I believe in this generation. I believe in what God is doing, and I know that this group of young people is called to be a part of the revival that God is sending into our world, and I believe they're up for the challenge. Amen. Well, thank you so much today for being at Life Talks. To all of our guests, we're so happy to have you. To those that are watching online, thank you for tuning in today. At this time, you are welcome to spend some time in prayer. These altars are open. If you'd like to come forward, we're going to have some music in the background. Parents, don't forget to pick up your kids at Sunday school. 10:45 is pickup time, and we'll be back here at 11 o'clock for service. God bless you. Let's have a good Sunday.